Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magical Witchy World. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Again, hello, and welcome to the
don't
Magical
do it
Witchy World.
again.
I
Reboot.
am Star Raven Hawk. I am Star Raven Hawk,
And
and
I
we're
am Alan.
yeah, absolutely. And tonight we have several guests with us tonight because we are going to be doing a panel on which was among us. So I
Yes.
guess we could begin with having them briefly introduce themselves. Debbie, would you like to begin?
Sure. My name is Debbie Chapnick. I'm a second degree initiate of the Servants of the Light School, a tarot reader, and a publisher.
Wow, great. Happy to have you here tonight with us. Sahira, would love to hear from you.
Hi, good evening. I'm a high priestess and ordained reverend of the Wiccan Family Temple, licensed officiant in New York State. I'm a Yayi and Ganga certified aromatherapist, and I'm studying to get my Death Doula certification. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me, guys.
Yay, absolutely. Helena, would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Helena Dominic. I'm an artist, a writer, a witch, an educator. I run a small coven here in Chester County, Pennsylvania, Solace of the Kindred Spirits. And I have an art studio where we do lots of witchy and arty things.
Awesome, awesome. And Rhonda. Oh, sorry,
Tell them a little
Earl.
about me.
I'm so sorry, Earl. I'm not seeing you going down.
Good evening, everyone. I am Earl Williams. I am the host of Pagan Artist Spotlight podcast here in Iowa. I'm also the Midwest rep for the new Today's Witch magazine, which is becoming very popular.
Yay.
It has been proving to be very successful in a lot of shops nationwide.
Okay, thank you.
Fabulous.
Okay, Rhonda, would you?
And well, yeah, other half of Magical Witchy World TV, Rhonda Allen, tarot reader, witch, and here in northern New Jersey. Yay.
Okay.
Welcome everyone. Star, I just have to say before everyone gets into it. Yes, Star, it's your birthday. So happy birthday. Celebrating
Thank
you
you.
today as well. Celebrating
Thank
you
you.
today as
Happy
Happy,
well.
birthday.
happy.
Yes,
Yay.
happy
And
birthday.
hello to everyone who is on the chat. We see you out there. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, Star, we wanted to get jumping into our topic. Our topic for
Yes,
this
yes,
evening
yes.
is
Okay. So we do acknowledge that this is a very broad topic. Hence, we brought in these amazing panelists, guests with us tonight to discuss it. And we have a few questions and topics that we would be able to run through. At least we hope we can. And we've already identified that we will probably have to have a part two because we actually had some people contact us saying they would like to be part of the panel. And I had to kind of say, I'm so sorry, we're kind of full now. So we might have to have a part two of this because it's again, it's a big thing and it affects a lot of people in the community. Okay.
yes.
So going from there, if you have the questionnaire, if you don't, I will do the questions, I guess. Is that correct, Rhonda?
Oh, I have the questions. No, I'm good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have them definitely. So we wanted to start out. You all gave us your brief backgrounds, and thank you all so much for that. Without necessarily naming names. All right. So without necessarily naming names, tell us a bit about which wars that you're familiar with. And I mean, this is, yeah, and I mean that this is over an expanse of time. So however you would like to begin, and just to give a background on, what your
Hmm.
experience is. Tell us about one that you remember.
Okay. And who would like to go first? You can put your hand up and we'll just kind of
Hmm.
go in that order. Okay. Elena, go ahead.
I,
Hello.
f- I feel like I'm going to be brief because I have not personally been embroiled in one of these, but what I was going to say is I see them taking place all the time on Facebook. And, someone will
Yes.
post, I don't know, a manifesto, if you will. And then there'll be this other things going on where people are jumping in to say, "Oh, good for you. Good. I'm so glad. Go for it. Da, 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 da. Those people are terrible." And then you'll see another manifesto on the terrible person's page. And then it just sort of all blows up, and people on both sides are talking, and people who aren't even involved are talking, and it just seems to happen over and over again. And I would have hoped that by now we would all be mature enough to not take part in these ridiculous sorts of things. And
Mm,
Sorry.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many other important things going on that,
Absolutely. But
why
Mhm.
humans? Why?
why?
because everybody has to feel important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't have talent like you do,
Mhm,
or any of us, we
mhm.
don't have to find ways to be important. We
I
to feel, I'm not saying I'm important, but to feel important, to feel like you have self-worth.
Right.
The easiest way to do it is try to grab it from somebody else.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Debbie, then do you have an experience that you wanted to share briefly?
Mine's kind of weird because it happened in another country. Because I'm a member of the Servants of the Light, it's an
Mm.
international school, and um, I am the archivist for Dolores Ashcroft Nowicki, and it was at the very beginning of when I was publishing those books, and someone reached out to me from the Netherlands and said, "Oh my God, this person on this blog reviewed your book." And I'm like, "Yay." And so she said, "Do you want me to send you the link?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was in Dutch. And she translated it for me. And it was very, very favorable. But it had a line in it that sort of made me go, huh. And the line was, "And you see, you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to get occult knowledge." And I went, wow, she just took a dig at somebody. I wonder who it was. And it
Mhm.
only took about a half an hour for me to find out
Yes.
who it was. And it's this other, an ex SOL person who was like, "You should take that off your page because, she's done these horrible things to me." So now I'm getting all these emails back and forth about she's done something horrible to me, and no, no, she's done something horrible to me. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm in Manhattan. I'm not going to listen. This is all hearsay. I'm
Right.
just sitting here minding my own business, playing with the fairies and publishing my books. And
Mhm.
but it was I mean, it took actual effort to stay out of it because they were so intent on dragging me into
Mm.
it.
Right. Right.
And
That happens.
Yeah.
it actually
Yeah.
bubbled up like 5 years
Yeah. What
later.
is
It
that?
happened again. Somebody else got
Wow.
involved in it and said, "Well, don't you want to stand up for this person?" And I'm like,
Nope.
I didn't want to I please keep me out of this. Like,
Right.
who needs this extra drama?
Yeah.
But what really has always stuck with me was the energy of it.
Right.
Was that energy that
Yeah.
was put into
Yeah.
trying to pull you in. And the more you didn't want to get pulled into it, the
Yeah.
more they would, I'm not saying they had like puppets and pins or anything, but there was an energetic about it where it seemed really important to them that I get involved in this. And I was like, I'm just publishing. I'm just a poor little white girl trying to get by.
Hey, Kenya, good to have you join us.
Kenya.
Giving us the
Hi.
eye
Hey,
again. Please
Tanya.
don't give us the eye.
Yes, you're giving us the eye. Giving us the eye.
There she is.
Hey.
Okay.
So
So,
Kenya, just to bring you up,
Sahira, would you like?
we're
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Oh, I was just going to say, Kenya, what we were asking is if you would just, without naming names, just give us a background on maybe a witch four that you were familiar with, and Helena and Debbie have already given us, and Sahira was about to give us a story.
Thank
Okay.
you. We're caught up.
Yes.
Yes.
So, well, I kind of, Star and I always have conversations about these things, right? And she knows I don't have a lot of tolerance for this, ping pongish back and forth. You have to pick a side, or you're the bad one, and it's got to be my side, or you're the bad one.
Mhm.
And so I've never been much of a follower. So from the time that I got involved in, finding my spirituality, that's, a few years ago, many years ago, when I got involved in the Santeria and the Palo communities. And so if you know anything about those communities, it's like godfathers talk like smack about each other all the time. And you should come with me because I'm the better one. And you should come with me. And, folks
Mm.
that are kind of trying to seek knowledge and understand, not wanting to commit just yet because they're not sure. They're kind of caught in the middle, and we're pressured a lot of times. So, what I always experience when it comes to like these witch wars is that, the folks kind of stuck in the middle, we're always forced to choose a side, even
Right.
when we don't want to.
Mhm.
And that's a really awful part about it, that you can't just stay neutral.
Right.
And that's what's so damaging.
Right.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Earl,
Well
Done
said.
that.
that is
Yeah.
absolutely true. Absolutely true. Earl.
Yeah, back when I came into the community back in 2003, when I was living up north, um,
Mhm.
I came right in smack dab in the middle of a witch war between two major groups up there. And it all came down to one of them being power hungry. Well, I got told flat out I had to choose sides. It's like, that's not how I operate.
Right.
And I did my best to try to get people at least communicating whatnot. Is one thing that I don't like is witch wars. I don't. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I'm outspoken about things, and I'll call it as I see it. But you know, overall, I was doing my best to try to bring people together, and that was the whole
Yeah.
reason why I came up with the saying, um, "Community and unity," and
All right.
Mhm.
it's really is what I've stuck to. Yeah, I've got people who don't like me because of it. It's like, okay, so be it. Goodbye. See you.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
and there was just there was just a big post that went out tonight uh,
Mhm.
from yeah, the group down south, and
Mhm.
I'm like, oh brother, it's like,
Yeah. We see it all the time. So,
Mhm.
you just have to
yeah.
kind of keep going, which is why we're trying to do this tonight. So, Kenya, have you experienced anything like that or witnessed? Listen to
Okay.
that laugh. Listen to that laugh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's see. We're playing the don't tell who it is game. So hold on a second. So
Correct.
here's a really good one. Here's a really good one. So my policy is if y'all are grown, don't pull me into your children's stuff. I mean, honestly, if blood has not been shed non-consensually, because I gotta keep it real. And if
Mhm.
children have not been touched, if protected individuals have not been taken advantage of, you handle your own scandal. But unfortunately, there was
Mhm.
somebody who tried to pull me into something because they had a problem with a gentleman who had an issue with a lady, a witch and a male witch. I'm not going to say too much because
Mhm.
it'll identify it. And then this person jumped in because they had problems with that person. And again, it's not my beef. I'm not jumping into it. Long story short, everything was copacetic until they decided that they were going to do something harmful to a protected individual, a young child. And at that moment, I was like, okay, well, I'm a different cat. I can't flow with that. So you're going to have to get yourself together, and I'm going to tell you about yourself. And then the person that they had the problem with, that also had the problem with the other person, came in and blew the situation up. They thought that I and everybody else should have their side. I was like, number one, I don't like you because of what you were, I didn't have anything against you until you did that, but now I don't like you personally,
Yeah.
and everything
Mhm.
about you. And if it's
Yeah.
if you think it's you, SAK, it's you. How you doing?
Mhm.
Hello. But but yeah, so forever. But
Yeah.
in that situation, then yes, that's when I would get involved. And even then, I wasn't directly involved. They pulled me into it. Now I got
Yeah.
my name in some people's hit lists and everything else, and ask me if I care, because I don't.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted the follow up. I just had one follow up question to the conversation so far, and that was really well, everybody has l- leaned into it a bit, and it's the repercussions of what happens when these wars come about. Small town, big city, cross country, global, whatever the scale may be, there are impacts. And every one of you here has made some kind of a comment to that. And I know, Sahir, you said something, Kenya, all of you have said something, but the impact to the seeker when dealing with, oh my God, the fur baby,
Hi.
when dealing with
She
the
doesn't know what she wants.
beautiful. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, but the impacts to the seekers, the impacts to those who are trying to come into the community, they're trying to learn about, what's happening, and they're seeing these types of really sometimes hostile battles going on. That has to have an impact on the community. Helena, I see your hand
Oh
Yeah.
going
no,
up.
I was
Yeah.
just
Patricia wanted
kind of
to
like
explain
that
her.
was more like blah, yes, blah. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
who would want to join us
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
any form if they see this sort of behavior happening.
And
Right.
I mean, we all have many stories, but one of the things I do have to say again, Kenya mentioned something about crossing the line
Mhm.
with certain
Mhm.
things, and I have witnessed it happening where it got to the point of there was a fire in the home of the person where that people were at war with each other with, and children, a couple of children died, and the mom.
Oh no.
Oh.
And
Mm,
I am
mm,
just
mm,
at that
mm.
point where, like, if you gonna go to war with someone in such a way and harm people like that, especially children, something is wrong with you.
Mhm.
You're crossing the
Right.
line with certain things.
Understatement.
And all of you have one
Yeah.
kernel of thing that you're all saying, being told to be dragged into it, or trying to be pulled into it,
Yeah.
and having to say, be told, basically pick a side,
Mhm.
and you're sitting there going, huh? What side? Is what, a side of fries, a side of cake?
Right.
You know,
My
Right.
side is me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
yep. I always pick me.
But
Mhm.
That's right, girl.
it is something that
Well
we have to
said.
think about, and some of the other questions we want to ask kind of go down the line with some of that, which I could even bring up one of the questions right now to say, because we're finding that it has gotten worse because of social media.
Mhm.
Whereas before
Mhm.
it would be in a way contained to where they're indigenous to. The social media has made it where, like one of you said, international too,
Mhm.
where it should not be on that level or on that scale. But in general, before I ask my question, it makes it look like if they're a bunch of cowards who, because they're behind a computer, they think they can say and do anything they choose. But in person, and you try to, I'm that person that will come to you and go, now let's chat. Let's do this one on one right now. And that's when they will back down,
Mhm.
because they're bloody cowards in general.
Mhm.
But it's just some things to think about, because we we are in that era of the social media, and because of that we have to walk away the
Mhm.
same way that you would treat it with if it was in person indigenous to wherever it is that you are,
Mhm.
you would have walked away. So rather than getting involved with it, that's some of the things that I think we should think about. But anyways, so
Mhm.
the next question.
Oh, Kenya has a
I'm
comment
sorry.
real
Go
quick.
ahead.
I respect that. I respect that, especially coming from Gen X. I respect that. But I just want to say this. I have to do it the other way because I'm just going to be blunt. Where I am, no matter who starts it, if there's a shouting match or elevated emotions, I'm going to be the one blamed. Especially if it's and I'm not going to make this a racial issue, but it is what it is. I'm going to be the one blamed. I don't know about how it is about in other communities. I am the outspoken Black person or Asiatic person, so
Mhm.
it's like it's always. I mean, if I had, I don't. If I get called uppity one more time,
Oh shit. Oh, sorry.
and then they don't
Yeah.
say it to my
No, no.
face,
Oh
Okay,
my
Awful.
God.
Debbie.
I
Mm.
just
they don't say
had
it
a
to my
cramp
face.
when he said.
So I have to be
Mm.
careful because I don't care what the new way is. Whatever I do until somebody else comes to take my spot, I am leaving that footprint for them to be judged by. So I can't act a whole fool. But what I will do, Star, is I will sit up in their face about this close.
And give them the eye.
Give them I can sit up
Right.
there and have an entire conversation right across the person. And I have done it. And just like they are just figments of my imagination, they are not there.
Yep, I've done that too. I've done
Oh,
that too.
I'm sorry. I had an experience where someone had posted
Yeah.
something on social media that really, really irked me. And again, if I can't sit face to face with you and have a conversation with you, I'm not going to get into a pissing contest on Facebook. But
Right.
he went to a workshop. I was attending a Dolores workshop, and I have a lot of cred at Dolores's workshops because I'm her archivist. And so he just wanted to be near me and sit near me and stuff. And I just got to go, okay, we have to talk about something. And I was very nice and very respectful. And that deer in the headlights moment, I think that's really my favorite because these like 20-year-olds who think they know everything and have found a group and don't get any, you know who I'm talking about, stop smiling, um, they don't get any pushback, right? They surrounded themselves with people
Yeah.
who just kiss their ass. And then
Let
you
them
have
burn.
someone who's going to sit there and go, okay, here's the problem with what you just said.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that kind
Yep.
of leads it into the next question, which is, what do you think starts most of these wars, and or what's
Mhm.
primarily you think is at its core?
I would
Insecurity.
have, I would have to chalk it up to intolerance, disrespect.
Mm. And also what
Mhm.
Sahira mentioned, insecurities are another thing too,
Mhm.
because in
Mhm.
all kinds of, and I don't think they even realize that that's how they come off, because they still busy being belligerent or whatever it is that they're doing.
We
Mhm.
get
But
into
I
that
would love to
broom
hear some
measuring
of you guys.
contest.
Hmm?
Mm.
What was that?
We get into a broom measuring contest, and most of their brooms are about that big.
There
So
you go.
I'm just saying,
Uh,
I'm just saying,
Ah,
it's the
you
ego
know what?
and the
boy.
id. A
Always
lot
the
of
best
times, it's not even the
one.
ego; it's really the id being out of
I,
control.
I feel that
We get a little bit
sometimes
too Freudian.
I was,
Hey,
yes.
I
I
I
think
Mm.
I can tell you
that
off the top of my head 3 examples
No,
of
I'm with you.
of of groups that were started by 2 or 3 people, and then one person went, "You know what? I wanna do something a little differently." And then instead of it being like, "Okay, have go on your way, do your path, do your thing," it became a shit show. And you're like, Why? Like, somebody can't change their mind?"
Mhm.
And and
Mm.
I've seen it all the
Mhm.
time. I've seen
Mhm.
it in the SOL when Dolores,
Mhm.
she's 95 now, bless her heart, the jockeying for a position because everybody wanted the school,
Yeah.
and the fighting and I mean,
Yeah.
it was ugly, and you're sitting there going, okay, she's going to do whatever she wants. You're
Mhm.
wasting your time.
Yeah,
We all know how this works.
I
So
Right,
think some
it's
right.
basically bevying for control, in other words.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's
Okay. Got it.
power.
Anybody
It's
else?
Yeah, I think
Selena?
some I think sometimes it's about definitely ego, absolutely
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And the way that I think that starts to spiral is one person will maybe, I was going to say something really flippant like, well, people take themselves too seriously,
This is true.
it's
which
true
is
though.
true to a degree, but I think what that, to get, to break that apart a little bit more is somebody
Mhm,
feels that they're doing something a certain way and it's the right way. And there's somebody
mhm.
who maybe is in the group with them or close by who's like, no, 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 you're doing it wrong. And that's where the ego's involved because again, why can't people be walking on different paths or be walking their paths differently and agree
Right.
that, okay, what you're doing over here is not going to work for me? There's so many of us right now. And I know it can sometimes, maybe if you're a beginner, it may not seem that way, but there's so many of us right now and so many different ways to choose to be witchy that I don't think if you're
Mhm.
unhappy with the way someone is doing something, go find somebody who is doing it that way, because chances are there's so much more diversity now. You're going to find somebody,
Yeah.
or start your own group and find people that
There you
think like
go.
you.
There you
We
go.
have the internet now,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
mhm,
Absolutely. Earl, did you say something?
Well, I was agreeing with what Helena was just saying. Is
Oh, okay. All right.
you know, uh,
mhm,
yeah, I think we've all seen a bit of people with really large egos, people who just can't be accepting of others.
Mm,
That's one of the
Mhm.
most that's one of the biggest things that I keep seeing happening
mm.
time and time again in the community is people who just cannot accept others for their path or who they are. Just I don't
This
want
is true.
Right.
And that's been going on for a long time, actually. That kind
mhm,
of thing of acceptance or not, because I
mhm,
do remember um, 2001 or so, or the end of 1999. There were many groups that we were going around to, and a friend of mine and I, we both had a young child. My husband had passed away, so we were both single moms. Her husband had to leave and go back to Jamaica, and she and I became very close because we each had a child, and you know we would go to rituals and we want to go, and our kids would be very quiet in the corner just playing with their toy trucks, and we would literally told they don't know why the breeders are here.
Mm.
Um, they need to find somewhere else to go because their kids
oh,
are going to be disruptive, even though they
Mm.
were not making a peep of sound. And then finally, we just kind of discussed it and said, you know what? Let's form a group there. It's like for family oriented. Anyone can come, and we accept
mhm,
everyone unless they want to do harm to anyone here. We
mhm,
accept any and everyone, and we don't care. So we've had people from pregnancy to
Right.
newborns to everybody. And that's how we started because we could not find a group that accepted us with a child. So we
mhm,
formed our own. And it was
mhm,
based off of that, accepting more and open more to
mhm,
people. And we didn't care about the
Right,
gender
right.
and all the different things
mhm,
or the race.
right,
That was our creed. And it's all over everything that we've done to today
Mhm.
because of that,
mhm,
because
mhm,
we were not
Right.
accepted with the others. So we formed our own. It's real simple. It's real
mhm,
simple to me. Go do your own if you're that objective to
right.
something.
mhm,
But you were very lucky in that you had enough knowledge behind you that you understood you could walk away. There are groups that I mean, I've heard this from other people. There are groups where
mhm,
they're warned that there will be like, cosmic repercussions if they walk away. There are
Yeah.
these
Right.
cosmic threats and
mhm,
and a couple of people came to me and said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Walk away."
Yeah.
No
I
Cosmic
kidding.
said,
trap.
Yeah.
you
Like,
know, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Mhm,
The only
Yeah.
person who can excommunicate you is the gods.
mhm, mhm,
That's
Excommunicate is
it.
probably not the right word. It's the only
no,
one
but
I.
you're right. You're kind of right.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
you know, a human
That's
can't do
exactly
that to you.
right.
mhm,
You're right. Right.
So, but it's not. There's people who don't know enough that
mhm,
they don't have the knowledge behind them to go. You know, I'm going to walk away. There's going to be somebody else to work with,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's part
mhm,
of the problem too.
Right.
Is that they feel
mhm.
stuck.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the reason why a lot of people became solitary.
Mm.
I've been told
Mhm.
that several times. I would put a
I
post
hear that
on
too.
Facebook, and I would say
Mhm,
really simple,
Yeah.
and people, by the
mhm,
time they go on the bottom, they go, "This is the reason why I walked away and became a solitary," because you say,
mhm,
"Oh, I like apples and oranges. I like apples, but I don't like oranges." And then, what do you
mhm.
mean you don't like oranges? I'm just using that as an
No,
analogy.
No,
it's
but
I'm
yeah.
just saying, no, I didn't say I didn't like oranges. I just said I like apples.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
it's like this word salad that happens, and they don't
mhm,
they 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 perceive things in a different way than what you write,
mhm.
well, yeah, because
or
they
what you
perceive it the
say.
way they want to.
Yeah.
I have to read for you right now.
Okay.
Somebody, one of my coveners is watching this, and
Uh-huh.
she just said, I'm
Mhm.
touched. She said,
Yes.
"Helena, our group is so diverse, and I am so thankful we don't have such judgment against others' paths." And
Right.
I
It's a
think
good
Oh,
that's
thing.
also the key
That's
is um I'm taking classes right
Thank
now
you.
in spiritual direction, and they're talking a lot about grace and giving other people grace and extending that, like in a way that is, I'm having trouble with such and such. Can you be a little patient?
Right.
And I think that that is something
Mhm.
that's really missing in these kinds of
True.
situations. People don't know how to give grace.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
You are
Um,
that is so key.
yeah.
And that
it
speaks to
is.
a
Um,
lot of things within
yeah.
community. And the next question kind of
Mhm,
takes us back to the issue of community and the work that
mhm,
the impacts again of these wars on community.
mhm,
But throw this question out there to everybody, which is again without naming names. I mean, are you aware of anyone who's been a part of these wars who's left the community entirely? And we were just talking about this, Star. People
mhm,
have been
Yeah,
who are solitary.
absolutely.
I was solitary for
mhm,
years and years and years because I was so familiar with these things, these that I was like, no, I don't want to be
mhm,
engaged with it. But you know, if are you familiar with people who've walked away entirely because of these issues? But then also, what
mhm,
impacts do you feel these wars are really having on our
mhm,
community? And I'm going to add a little bit to that, and I'm going to say on the reputation and the respect, because
mhm,
we've had other panel discussions about this, and that is, what impacts do we want to see as witches or pagans or whatever our practice, whatever how we call ourselves, what impacts do we have? Well, if we're having these things happening and people who are trying to step this world are seeing all of these things happening, what impacts is that
mhm.
having? And how is our
That
reputation being
mhm.
impacted by that? So
Yeah.
I've asked several
That makes
questions.
me really sad.
Yeah. It does make you
it
sad. Yeah.
makes you feel segregated, like,
Mm,
when I walk
Yes.
down the street, people already assume something because of the way I look, right? I get the whole, you don't look Puerto Rican. And I'm like, well, not everybody looks like J-Lo. So understand that, right? There are
mhm,
various
Yeah.
shades and different looks, right?
mhm.
So I already
That's
feel that
funny.
way
You don't
in
look
my personal
smart.
life. Right. Sometimes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, just visually, just I'm always being judged. So you go someplace that you feel that you can, kind
Mm,
of let your guard down spiritually and kind of commune with
mhm.
everyone. And then you get these little digs
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
get these
Judgment.
little, and
Mhm,
judgment. Oh, you're not doing, oh, you don't know what you're doing. oh, you don't believe in this, oh, you're so silly, oh, this, or who's your godfather, or and you're like, to the point that you just want to. I've literally removed myself from that community, and I really don't want to go back. I do what I need to do, right? I still practice, but I practice privately. And I'm part of the Wiccan Family Temple, and that experience makes me feel good because I'm always accepted in every way, and I appreciate Star and the whole community for that. But it took a long time to get here, and it's frustrating. So hopefully folks that are younger than I am, folks that are exploring communities, hopefully they'll hear these messages and know what their rights are and know the right communities to look for. That's what I hope that this inspires.
Right on. Beautiful, beautiful.
Anybody
And
else
thank
want to
you,
say
Rob, for
something?
your messages
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Anyone else wants to make a comment on that?
Well, I will say that in the past, and not too long ago, I've actually considered leaving the community myself over a lot of stuff, and it's come down to just me doing my own thing privately, because there are times that I feel like I'm not accepted, I don't feel welcomed in the community. And even though everybody who I have spoken with over the years told me that what I'm doing is an important job for the community, and I've taken that seriously, I've taken that to heart. But there's a lot of other times where I just didn't feel like I was welcome, so it was like, heck with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, we have to learn that we ourselves, without anyone else, we are our own community. So once we can get comfortable with that and accept who we are and basically say, excuse my language, but fuck it. It's none of their business. This is my life, my world, my thing. Your circus and your shit. Barren field of fucks to give.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yep.
all those things I say, on Facebook, I mean them wholeheartedly. Anybody that knows me knows I mean them to a T, because I can't. I have reached that stage in my life where I basically say, if you are not coming into my world and being part of it that brings peace and harmony and in any way helps to put us forward, I'm sorry, you don't exist. So if you don't exist, we are not communicating. I'm done. I have a short fuse. See how tiny that fuse is? I think it's the tip of my nail, and I barely have any nail. I don't have nails. It's like right off the tip of the skin there. That's the extent of my discussion with anybody or anything like that. So you push past that little tiny nail, and I'm like, okay, bye. And I don't look back. I don't believe in looking back. It's okay. Because it's no skin off my back, and you frustrate me. And one of the things that you find, no matter what you say, all of you in the community, if we get involved in these things with the witch wars and the fights and all the different things, stress is one of the big. Ask any doctor, and they'll tell you stress is the form or the base for many illnesses that we have. So if you are stressing any part of any little piece of bone or even my nail, if you stress any part of that, goodbye. Stress over, right?
And anger.
Right, as I said, goodbye, and we're done.
And anger. And anger.
I was following this Facebook group. They're waiting for a school to reopen. And this one child asks in earnest, what book should I start? I want to learn Kabbalah. What book should I buy? Now, of course, you ask 400 people that, you're going to get 400 different answers.
Right.
And which is fine, right? There's plenty of books. There's plenty of ways, to read things. And this person says, and this is one time I did get involved because I got annoyed. Said, okay, you spelled Kabbalah incorrectly. If you're talking about Judaic Kabbalah and you're talking, and I went, okay, hi. Here's the little Jewish girl here. And first of all, if you're going to use my alphabet, I want some respect. That's the first thing. The second thing is we're talking about a language where I can spell Hanukkah 4 different ways off the
Mm.
top of my head. You're going from one alphabet to another alphabet. It's not the same. I said, but back to the other
Mhm.
question. I think you should start with Israel Regardie's Garden of Pomegranates. And the guy comes back and he says, well, I have it screen grabbed somewhere. And he comes back and he starts mansplaining to me, which was such a bad
Mm.
idea. And 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 that's when I got, I never get more Jewish than when someone tells me I can't be. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm a
Mhm.
Jewish.
Yeah.
I'm a Jewish all the time, but you push me, and all of a sudden I'm like a rabbi, and and they go after this thing, and I go okay, and now the tone is different, and I just lay it out. And he
Sometimes you have
said,
to do that.
and he said,
Yeah.
this was the best mansplaining moment I have ever had. He said, "Thank you so much for showering your great Judaic wisdom upon us all." And
What
I
a
was like,
piece of
I
shit.
think that's the best thing anyone's ever said to me.
See,
If someone wants, it's all about power. Is
just
really the
nuts.
point
Yeah.
I'm making.
Yeah.
It's all about
Yeah.
power. If someone
It
asks you,
is.
if someone says, "What book should I read?" 400 people can give you 400 books, and then you go and you pick the one you want. Or if you're a real occultist, you buy all 400 and you pile them up, and you only read half of them.
And you read them.
Yeah, I
But
think the
go ahead.
So
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
But
I was just gonna
it's
say it's
power.
and there's a snap to judgment that people make,
yes.
Yes.
and they
Oh my
don't,
goddess.
and you know, you're sitting behind a laptop or a monitor
Yeah.
or a phone or whatever you're doing. You don't know what that other person's situation is, and they don't know what yours is, and assumptions are made, and it's infuriating, and I'm now thinking it was not related to anything witchy, but a friend of mine had posted that you've probably seen it. It's like the little film where they show the women in burqas, and then they say, this is not, the indigenous costume of Kyrgyzstan. This is. And then they have another, and then the women are in their, beautiful, colorful clothing. And then this is not the indigenous clothing of Iran. And this is. And so somebody made the comment of, it was on a witchy friends page, so I guess I can share that. And somebody made the comment of,
Mhm.
well, they're only being mistreated because they allowed themselves to be mistreated.
Oh
And
God.
I was like, oh, hold
Oh
the
boy.
bus. And then I was like,
Wow.
I can't just make a snappy, pithy comeback to a comment like that. I mean, I could, but it's not going to do anybody any good. So I wrote a
Right.
blog
Right.
post instead saying, here's what authoritarianism looks like, kids, and
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's just
That's just
interesting.
awful.
It's
Mhm.
Well, my
Yeah, you can
problem
go.
with judgment,
it's just
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
sorry.
Say it. Yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, my issue with judgment and all of that is how small really is your world that you're all up in my business? Why do you care what I
mhm.
believe in, what
Right.
I do with my
Right.
life, who my godparents are, if I
Mhm.
have any, what my initiations
Mhm.
are? Like, tell me who your head is, and I'm like,
Mhm.
so I sit there
Mhm. Yeah.
and I look at my
Mhm.
godfather and I go, can I say what I want to say, or do I have to be your god kid right now? And he's like, Sonia,
Mhm.
please be respectful, right?
Right.
And what I want to say is, what the fuck do you care? I will never be your god kid.
Yeah.
Excuse
Okay,
my
one of
language.
that's
Hopefully it was okay that I threw the F bomb. Excuse me. But it's
It's
just
okay.
frustrating to
It's
me
been
because
around
I'm just,
tonight.
again, right,
Mhm.
just like everyone who is, witch warring through social media, right? and their worlds are this big. That's how big they are. That's
Yeah.
a really small world. I remember when I was a kid, I won't date myself, but it was a little while ago. And we had a disagreement, and we either shouted it out, right, and came to a misunderstanding, or just accepting that we don't agree, or we just duked it out, right?
Mhm.
And then everybody goes home, and then you go back to the
Mhm.
same old day, and we're all friends again. But the whole witch ward thing is so long. It's long, and it's dreadful. And no matter
Yes.
how many times I hide, the conversations, they keep popping back up, because I don't want to see that, because it gives me bad energy, and I don't accept bad energy in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Even the one that I bring on myself, I don't accept it. I'm not gonna take your shit,
Yeah.
and that's it.
I got to
Right.
admit that I'm guilty of never looking at my feeds unless someone tells me, Star, you need to go look at this particular thing, which is very rare because they know I don't look at my feeds. So I don't see anything. I miss it all.
You're smart.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
It's all like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. I don't
It's
need to see the feeds of whatever it is.
Mhm.
so just to
Okay.
grab us
So
back, because we are almost at the top of the hour.
Ooh.
right. So we're gonna have to have a part 2 of this, and we have, like I said, other people who wanted to come on.
Yeah.
So we talked about the reasoning and the impacts and stuff like that behind a lot of this. So has you guys found, and this is probably a very silly question in a way, but the reputations being destroyed by a lot of people with what has been said and done, I think it has. So what are some of your thoughts?
Hmm.
There have been reputations that have been
You know,
damaged because of what's happened,
Mm,
and um,
Mhm.
people are made to now are questioning things because of that. And
Mhm.
um, I don't like what's been happening, and I mean, I've tried to show my support, and but the damage has already been done,
yeah,
and it's unfortunate.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of things that have been good for so long, you find people questioning whether they should leave or not, and different things, So again,
Yeah.
if something makes you uncomfortable or whatever it is, whether you know what's going on or not, walk away then. Unfortunately,
Right.
but yeah. Anybody else find
Anybody
it?
else have thoughts
Admit?
of
Yeah.
or
I think the damage that's done, a lot of times it's more on the outer core of it than the inner. The more that people know the people who are involved, the less damage is done. It's the people on the peripheral
Mm,
that don't know these
how so?
people, that are just hearing all this stuff,
Yeah.
and they make these decisions based on.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there's no
Yeah.
damage done, because of course
And
there
that
is, but it's all about, if someone
yeah.
comes to me and says this person did this and you shouldn't be friends with them anymore, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, But if someone who doesn't know
Yeah.
any of us says that, then they take it under advisement because they don't know. And that's I think where
I
the ripple effect is.
I want to take the conversation back to I'm just going to take it really big picture and just ask the question. Why is it you feel this which wars are an issue to be concerned with to begin with? Why is it something we even need to concern ourselves with?
Because it doesn't need to happen
I
in
mean,
the first place.
Mm,
What were you gonna say, Kenya?
think. Kenya? Yeah.
honestly, part of it is the fact that we have these insular little communities that are not part of the giant god cults, right? They're
Mhm.
not integrally a part of the overall
Mm,
overculture, right? and we
Right.
want to be important. We
Mhm.
want to be
Yes.
seen, and we want to be heard. And
Mm-hmm.
unlike, I'm not knocking anything, but unlike a lot of regular, to quote Cardi B,
Mm-hmm.
blessed be your name,
Yes.
uh, that
Yeah.
just saying, quote Cardi B. The fact of the matter is, we didn't decide that we wanted to be quiet and go along. Many of the people who are in these circles want to be seen, want to be heard. So when we bring with us our insecurities and we don't do the work to be properly prepared people, yeah, I'm looking at you, Gardnerians. How you doing?
Oh
You know,
God.
I know about
Oh,
that,
I
did
don't
you?
know that we should go there.
And Bridget, y'all. Okay. Um, what winds up
Okay.
happening is that all of those emotions bubble over, all of those insecurities bubble over, all those wants, needs, and desires and insecurities
Yeah.
bubble over, and then they balloon up into these things like a horrible, sad, sick Satan souffle.
Yep.
Well, and
Yeah.
since you
And we ain't
Yeah.
even believing in Satan, and that's the
there you
sad
go.
Yeah.
part about it.
And since you did
Right.
say the G word, um, I find with,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people I know are from the UK, and I find those British traditional Wiccans, those Gardnerians, have sewn themselves into such a teeny tiny little box that that all they can do to break out of it is be bitches in order to define
Mm.
themselves.
I love y'all Gardnerians,
No,
nothing
no, no.
personal.
You know something? I know. My teacher Dolores, going to be 96 in June, bless her heart, third degree Gardnerian, but not a bitch unless she doesn't like you, and then she is. But when you're 96, it's okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. When there's people who I'm
Yeah.
writing a book on occult initiation, and somebody overheard me talking about it, and they went, "Oh, well, you can't discuss any of that because it's oath given." And I went, "Do you even know what I'm talking about? Do you have any reference for what I'm talking about?" "Yes, but when you've been initiated, there's an oath." And I was like,
Oh,
"Okay,
there's that jumping thing
yeah."
again.
And then I said, "You know what? I
Mm-hmm.
sat down with Margot Adler and Maka Nightmare and Selena Fox, and none of them went, uh-oh, oath given." Like they talked about what they were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So please, if you have an oath problem, go ahead. Why are you looking at me that way?
You know,
Put them in a jar. No, I'm sorry.
There you
you
go.
know
Yeah.
Like I don't have a
the
couple of
crazy
people in my
I'm
freezer.
just
I'm
kidding.
just saying. Oh, should I have said that out
the,
loud?
the crazy thing about this whole situation is, one thing that I realize is with
Yeah.
groups, it kind of mirrors like society. Like it's like a micro of the macro,
Mm.
right? So it's mirroring society. So there's
Yes,
always got to
absolutely.
be someone who's underprivileged, who is, who's not going to get those resources, who's not going to be valued as an expert because of who they are, what they believe in, what they look like, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm kind of tired of this because it's the same old, right? If we look at it,
Yeah.
and witch
Yeah.
wars, in essence, what it's doing is it's causing rifts in the community, just like all these things
Yeah.
socio-politically have done to, you know, I don't even want to say America. I'm talking about the world because it's a cataclysmic
Mm.
effect.
Yeah.
And people aren't realizing
Mm.
this. They're still thinking that my individual needs, kind of are more important than the communities. And I'm like, that's why our planet is
Right.
dying. That's why we're dying. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
living death. We're lasting
Yeah.
longer, and we have conditions, and we're gonna suffer longer because of them. I'm sad about that. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And spiritually, we're all
Yes.
sick in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So we got to work on that mental
Got some
health
healing to
in
do.
our community, and maybe that'll be that halo effect
Yes.
that can affect the macro community. We have to serve as an
That
example.
would be fabulous.
One of the things,
Right. And I would say live the practice.
right?
If we're
But
preaching
Thank
the
you
that's the
so
practice,
much.
if we're
And
problem
you
living
know
though.
the
what?
if
That
we're living our
mental health
truth.
piece, that's what grinds my garters.
Mm.
Because right there, they really need to take mental health first aid. And nobody takes that mental health piece,
Yeah.
in general, in the general populace, to the extent of importance
Yes.
that it should be.
For
Yeah,
real.
there
Absolutely.
is a need for that.
Agreed.
And that's the reason why it's become
Huge
a
need.
national
Agreed.
thing now. It started in New York, and now it's become a national thing of first aid meant for mental health,
Mhm.
for both adults and
Yes.
youth, and that's a big deal. And people are being certified and all nationally and stuff like that because it's a big deal. It's part of our society. But
It's
one of the
huge.
things Kenya, not Kenya, Rhonda just mentioned about living the practice. I think that's part of the issue
Mm.
because
Mm.
when we look at things from a solitary point of view, let's just say, and if one person mentions Gardnerian or the different ones, I don't think they realize and how rigid. Like I think Debbie is the one that mentioned how they've put themselves into this cocoon. They have the things they ran from the dogmatic religions, the big religions, they brought directly to
Mhm.
Yep.
these practices and created their own cult of dogma and rigidity.
Mhm.
And then they come up with these things, and then you have that person saying your oath and all. I'm like, excuse me, get off the goddamn pot. Okay, none of that matters because that's what you decided to. You leave one dogma to go join another dogma. That's not me.
Mhm.
That's not what
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
do as
Yeah.
witches or pagans or whatever you want to call
Mhm.
yourself. The reason we're here and the way we are is because we sought different things away from the dogma. So we're not rushing to run from one dogma to go to another dogma.
Mhm.
We're just not.
Exactly.
Right.
But if that's your choice, then that's on you. Bully for you.
Mhm.
But in the meantime,
Yeah.
the rest of us, let live and let live,
There
okay?
you go.
You do your dogma and
Yeah.
we will do our own little shit over here.
Mhm.
And we're cool like that. So if we're cool with it, then you need to learn to
You're
let
cool
go,
like
stick
that.
with your dogma, and let us stick with our other things that we're doing. And that's part of the
Right
problem
on.
because I want the rigidity of that. And
Right
I'm
on.
like, you don't even realize it. They pretty much took the way that the Catholic priest have their setup and they
Mm.
took it and they
Yes.
and they imitated it and called it
Mhm.
Gardnerian or whatever else. Nothing against the Gardnerians, but that's what they did. And they
But we
brought
are
that
but we
dogma
are
with
beating
them.
up on them just
Oh,
a little bit.
sorry. Sorry.
No,
They
I'm
are
just saying
a
that
little
one
teeny
for
bit.
any other
Well,
ones, you know.
When I first when
You
I
yeah.
can't bring dogma into something that
It's a
didn't
point.
have dogma and are not expecting it to have results.
but they don't know anything else.
To have
But
impact.
then
They were
why run
they
from what
And
you have,
I have to.
you know?
I
So
just have to time check us. We are
what's
at
the hour?
time, you all.
Mm.
It is
So
the
we
hour went quickly.
This
yes,
is
So
The
too
hour
good.
went
lively.
quickly.
right, right. So we are going to rest it there for now, and the next time we have is in June. I'll let you guys know what date in June because we don't have any earlier time to come back for part two. But it's obviously that big topic that needs, and we have a whole lot of other questions that we wanted to kind of cover, and we want to thank everyone for your input
Every one of
and
you.
all of the things that you guys, the knowledge, the experience that you're bringing
Mm.
of what the experiences rather that
Mm.
you have been around that you can bring to this table. I hope it benefits
Mm.
someone
Yes.
out there just to hear us laundering all of that.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
again, we apologize. Did not mean to pick
Mhm.
on any particular traditions
Mhm.
or anything like that. That was
Yeah.
not the intent. So
No.
apologies
No.
about that,
We're all part of
and we
this
will just
too.
go, yeah, because
Mhm.
everybody should have their own thing without judgment.
Mhm.
We're not here to judge anyone, and so everyone should be able to have that without it. And so
Mhm.
enjoy whatever it is that you're in, whatever sauce that you're in, enjoy that sauce.
That's
I like
right.
my hot
Thank
sauce.
you.
I'm
Uh-oh.
good.
I'm seeing the eye coming at us. The eye coming at us. Can't see the
Uh-oh.
I
eye.
know that
It's
I'm
about
just
that time. It's that
Wow.
time.
It's about that time. Thank you all for
Thank
joining us. Thank you all for your work. Please
Thank you
do
for
join us
inviting us.
Thank you.
again,
you for inviting us.
and we will see.
and we'll see
Thank
you
you for
guys and have a
coming back.
wonderful night. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you,
have a great
everyone.
week,
Thank
Be
you.
everyone.
well. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.